Hello there, guys, and welcome back to Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group's podcast, UCMC, where our analysts convene to delve into the realms of Russian disinformation, propaganda, and the influence of hybrid warfare in 2024. In these succinct podcast episodes, the team explores recent observations and analysis, sharing expert opinions and conclusions on the prevailing challenges within the information sphere today. And today we're dedicated this episode to the narratives post-US Congress finally allocating aid to Ukraine. My name is Matt. I'm the host for today's podcast, and I'm joined by my colleagues and analysts, Nastya and Anton. So guys, today, obviously, we're going to be speaking about how Russian propaganda has been reacting to the news post-allocating aid to Ukraine. It's been quite a noisy one. I know some of the narratives we're going to be talking about today is how they talk about US prolonging the war, US being the main beneficiary out of this aid package. The package changed nothing. It's insignificant, inconsequential, and mobilization in return for aid. So there's lots of news going on at the moment. Will this make a difference? Will this give Ukraine the initiative? Or will this just put Ukraine back on the footing to be equal with Russia? But we will dive into that a little bit more later. Let's start with you, Anton. Anton, what are the narratives you've been observing over the last few days since the allocation of the aid?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the question, Matt. And today I would like to highlight two narratives that Russian propaganda has tried to spread in the context of the aid. And as you said, the first sounds like aid will not change anything. And the second sounds money in exchange for mobilization of Ukrainians. These narratives seems very important to me, so I'd be happy to talk more about them.
Cool. And Nastya, which ones have you chosen for today as well?
Hello, everybody. The first narrative I want to talk about is USA is a main beneficiary, and the second is Washington prolongs the war.
Let's start straight with that, Nastya. Let's start with the Washington is prolonging the war. What are they pushing behind this, and how have we, as our team at Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group, how are we debunking this disinformation?
Washington prolongs the war. This is already a modern classic because Russian propaganda consistently spread this narrative, and unfortunately, it spreads effectively, as we can see on the example of our dark horses, about which we have several publications in our site. Intellectuals and politicians from all over the world who echo this idea. And the narrative that Ukraine's allies are continuing the war by sending military aid is being used by the Kremlin to absolve itself of responsibility for waging this war. Against the background of the discussion of assistance from US, there are statements about Russia's readiness for a peaceful solution to Ukraine issue, and propaganda broadcast a distorted picture of the war to the domestic and international audience, in which Ukraine and its allies are the aggressors and Russia seeks negotiation. But despite attempts to downplay the volume and importance of US aid, the Russians understand that 60 billion is an amount that can, if not tilt the scales in favor of Ukraine, at least equalize the chances. That is why the mass media of the aggressor country are trying to find a balance between the support among Russians for the belief in final victory and the need to prepare the population of the Russian Federation for new heavy losses at the front due to the increase in the capabilities of the armed forces of Ukraine.
And has it actually been a successful narrative? Have many in the West actually caught on to this narrative and is successful in terms of Russian propaganda? Has it been successful?
I think it is successful. It has been successful because, again, we have examples of politicians, scientists who catch in this narrative, understand understood it, and echoed it, spread it along among not Russian audience, but world international audience by people who listen them in podcasts, by people who read their articles, and unfortunately, we should combat this narrative, and we tried it today in our podcast. But yes, it's a really important thing to
tackle. I think it's one of those things that it's been reaching the Ukrainian skeptics abroad, those that follow the Republicans, which have been shouting all the conspiracy theories. Those are the ones that it works on, because it's a very basic kind of narrative, which people don't have to dig in too much to understand what is going on. I agree, for sure. Okay, great, Nessie. We'll come back to you in a second. Anton, let's bring you into the conversation. Give us one of the narratives that you're currently debunking and have debunked.
So, okay, if you're speaking about the narrative of the package change nothing, or that I like to name it the fatality of the situation for Ukraine, the emphasis on is on the also U.S. Congress acceptance of 61 billion. And Russian propaganda tries to play with belief that the cash will have too little influence on the battlefield. So propagandists are seeking to comfort themselves and the Russian people at the first place by downplaying the significance of the help, stating that it is only like a symbolic gesture, and Russia would still size Ukraine. And also at the same time, through Kremlin-controlled Telegram channels, Russian try to sow panic among Ukrainian people. However, this narrative tries to use selective reasoning and ignores the possible cumulative impact of the help, which includes a lot of weapons like defense system, air defense systems, ATACMS for deep strikes, F-16 for covert missions, and so on and so on.
It's one of the things that through which I witnessed right at the beginning is they're kind of, they were in a frenzy about it. They were absolutely crazy about it. And then after some days, the emotions subside. And then they start talking about it not being consequential and how it's only, they focus mostly on ATACMS missiles. And that 100 missiles won't change anything on the battlefield, but obviously it's not just about the one weapon, it's about the accumulation of them all together. Okay, great, cool. And Nastya, the second narrative from you, please.
The second narrative is USA is the main beneficiary, and it is one of the fundamental theses of propaganda, of Russian propaganda. Is a portrayal of USA aid as a forced loan, which conning Americans through at a weakened Ukraine. These manipulations, this manipulation echoes one of the key arguments of pro-Trump Republicans, that aid to Kyiv should be provided on a credit basis. In fact, in particular, military aid is not allocated in the form of a loan, since most of the allocations are directed to replenishing the ranks of the U.S. Army. However, the connection with the support of the armed forces of Ukraine is direct, since the weapons supplied to Ukraine come either under the particular order of the president or through the security assistance program. The first mechanism allows for the prompt transfer of anti-aircraft weapons from American Army stock to Ukraine, and the second mechanism finances long-term contracts with the American military industry to purchase necessary products. Russian propagandists openly manipulate numbers, as usual, trying to confuse and not without success their audience. the aggressor country launched dozens of different explanations into the information field as to why US aid has decreased compared to previous years. However, in reality, the situation is the opposite. In 2024, more money was allocated for weapons for Ukraine that was contained in the aid packages for 2022 or 2023.
What you said there about Russian propagandists often manipulate numbers. I saw that also in the American Congress when you got obviously someone like Victoria Spartz, and I was listening to her speech and I had no idea what was going on. There was just numbers being thrown around left, right, center, 80 billion, 70 billion, 10 billion, just made no sense, not possible to follow. And obviously that's one of the tactics Russian propaganda uses, and obviously their mouthpieces abroad. Okay, and the last narrative which we're going to be talking about today, Anton, quite a sensitive topic, obviously, mobilization. How is Russian propaganda and the Kremlin controlled channels trying to use this to disinform what is going on with the allocation?
Actually, Russian narratives about mobilization is one of the most spread from the beginning of the full-scale invasion. And nearly all non-governmental and governmental organization tries to tackle this narrative, and this narrative of aid in exchange for mobilization is one of mutation of this narrative in Russian minds. So Russia is consistently undermining Ukraine's mobilization efforts with the Kremlin's principal goal to worsen personal shortages in the Ukrainian armed force, because if Ukrainian army will not have enough people to defend territory, Russian army will have the possibility to break Ukrainian defense and seize much more Ukrainian territory. So Russian propaganda link the allocation of Ukrainian aid to Ukraine with mobilization issue, particularly after United States Senator Lindsey Graham visited Ukraine in April, and American politicians were asking Ukrainian legislators to quickly pass the mobilization bill, and we know that Ukraine really have to accept bills that could improve mobilization process in Ukraine, but Russian propaganda tries to play on the topic of downing of mobilization age to link acceptance of aid and this mobilization bill. So it is worth noting that the conversation in the United States has mostly focused on the White House war strategy and actually inner politics of United States and struggle between two parties and external aid to United States partners and friends rather than actively debating the mobilization problem within Ukraine. As a result, Ukraine's information legislation on mobilization had too little impact on American politicians' final decisions, because most of them was focused on much more important issues than mobilization.
You can see as well, obviously talking about the numbers of soldiers that have died, let's say on both sides. We don't know the numbers specifically, we've got estimates. But you can see how well, unfortunately, Russian propaganda has used this situation, because no one's talking about Russian mobilization. No one's talking about Russian deaths. We've got every day new numbers of thousands of Russian soldiers that are being killed, dying, obviously on occupied territory right now, and trying to push forwards. And people are concentrating more on what's happening with Ukraine's mobilization, not what's happening with Russia's mobilization, not the fact that Russia has thrown 450,000 of their citizens into war with disregard of any kind of training, any kind of equipment. So it's interesting to see how well, unfortunately, this narrative has taken a hold in the West.
Yeah, Matt, you make such a good point, because actually Ukrainian informational resources tried to make some sense for Russian people when Russia began mobilization for the first time, nearly in 2022, but for now, Russian cannibalistic approach to use personnel in this war is so deeply rooted in Russian people minds that we understand that this narrative from the Ukrainian side will not be such effective as we want.
Absolutely. Unfortunately. Guys, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. I would like anyone listening to this show today to, if you've got any more questions about the verified, the article which we wrote regarding the US Congress being allocating the aid to Ukraine, we've got on our website a verified digest in more detail, talking exactly about what we were speaking about today. Thank you, and until next time, goodbye.